We have Mr. Selestino Babungi, the Managing Director of Umeme. This morning we have the MD of Umeme at NTV this morning. Good morning, Mr. Selestino.
Good morning, Kyamagero.
Well, it's very interesting here. First of all, why are the negotiations on your concession renewal in the news? How many years do you have left for the current concession?
I think the concession was framed way back in the early 2000s, running from 2005 to 2025. And within that, there is a provision for extension, depending on the circumstances and if you have delivered value to the country.
Oh, yes.
So that's where we are. 2025 is very close. Yeah.
So you have roughly like
4 years. So 4 years.
Yeah. It's about to get done.
Yeah.
What was Umeme supposed to do under this kind of a concession?
If you look historically, the government had pains in the early 2000s. Limited generation, we had only the Owen Falls Dam, if we recall, around it.
Do.
We had limited distribution with only 250,000 consumers.
Yes.
There was total inefficiencies. For every 100 units of power that were generated, only 50% will crystallize into cash. 38 would be lost by theft or through the wires, and again 25 will not be paid for by the consumers. If you look at the energy sector, electric sector, it was a vote within the government of Uganda budgets. For example, the budget that has been passed,
Yes.
you would find the UEB allocated significant amounts of money to sustain it.
Yes.
So government took a strategic decision to liberalize the sector, to attract new investment in generation, so liberalize, to allow people to invest there, to allow efficiency in distribution, and that's how Umeme was hired as a private company to bring on its expertise to deliver efficiencies in distribution. And over the years that we have been in, we've delivered over and above what we were expected to deliver. If you start from generation, we had only one dam. We have now more than 40 dams. People have trusted Uganda and invested in power. Private sector. The only public sector dam that has been built of recent is Isimba. The next public sector dam is Karuma.
Karuma, yes.
So did the government achieve its objective of bringing private sector in generation? The answer is yes. Installed capacity moved from 120 megawatts to now over 1,200 megawatts. Second bit, access. We had a 250,000 consumers. As we speak, we have 1.5 million consumers connected on the grid. Actually, if it was not for issues of funding from government for ECP, I have another 250,000 customers waiting to be connected to the grid. So I will take this. That has been achieved. Third element, reduce losses. Losses means that if you bought 100 units of power from the transmission company, minimize them so that you can sell the consumer, sell more to consumers to impact on price.
Yes.
We've reduced these energy losses from 38% to 17%. There was a problem of people paying their bills. People never wanted to pay utility bills. It was a cultural issue. That we've moved. If you see the last 8 years, our average collection rate is 99.8%.
That's a great achievement.
How have we achieved that? Even during COVID last year, we collected 99.8%. It means consumers trust us.
And they're compliant.
They value our products. They are compliant. We put in technology. Now near 100% of our domestic consumers are on prepayment metering. We've integrated with mobile money. We have made their lives easier. Even recently, to apply for power, actually you don't need to visit Umeme. You apply online, they come and connect you, you start vending online. You may never visit a physical Umeme office.
There is no physical interaction.
So broadly, we have really simplified all this and delivered on behalf of government the mandate which we are given.
Okay. On fears that you may not get a new concession, your price on the security exchanges dropped amid investors' fears. Should these remaining years be enough to reassure investors as to renegotiate?
If you look at it, really, for me, if you look at Umeme is a platform, as I can say, which was created to bring in private sector expertise and money to solve Uganda's electrification child problems. If you look, it started as CDC of UK and ESCOM. 2012, we listed on the stock exchange to bring in 5,000 new investors, including NSSF, right? So that we can use this listing platform to attract private sector money.
Yeah.
In 2013, we raised $190 million of private sector money. Who are the providers of this money? On the same platform. IFC of the World Bank, Standard Chartered Bank London, Stanbic Bank, FMO Dutch. If you look at the list of our investors in Umeme, it's the blue chip. Some of them had never invested even in Uganda. That gave us an opportunity to bring them into Uganda to invest. Some of them have gone to invest in the banks and other areas, and I believe also they participate in oil. So as this platform, you ask yourself, is it generating the capital that was required to invest? Yes. Over our lifetime, we have invested now more than $739 million. That's why you are seeing the distribution network has more than doubled. We are at 44,000 kilometers. We are now having 14,000 transformer zones, which are zones for connecting customers, right? From 5,000. We've more than quadrupled the customer numbers.
The load shedding is going down.
If you look at the revenues we are generating, in 2005, we were collecting 160 billion shillings. The revenues at the end of last year is 1.7 trillion. Where is it going? 1.2 trillion of that is going back to government. We paid the transmission company an average of 110 billion shillings per month.
On time.
On time, to enable them pay the generators. If you look in the government coffers, there's nothing they are putting in to pay the generators. So Umeme as a platform has enabled government to create this sector to be self-sufficient, cash flow-wise.
The ecosystem is self-sustainable.
Exactly. Even with the shocks of COVID, we were shielded. We kept ourselves going as a sector. And for me, that's the platform that is working. Listing on the stock exchange, great. Even I have heard that the telecos should be encouraged to list.
To come through.
Because that gives you the opportunity to raise capital. You become transparent. There's nothing you're hiding. Your body is there, is known. Your financials are known. You report on time. Everything is known. So if you come to Umeme, it's not someone's hidden something. No, everything is you are transparent.
Platform.
Most companies, most countries have gone to develop their capital markets. US, UK, South Africa, Kenya, Uganda. So as Ugandans, we must put more companies on the stock exchange to attract capital to help government solve the citizens' challenges.
That's the key word. As Ugandans, put more of your companies on stock exchange, irregardless. Mr. Selestino, at your annual general meeting, if I may quote, your chairman, Mr. Patrick Bittet, told investors not to fear, invoking a clause in your contract that says that government would have to compensate you if your concession was not renewed as Umeme in the range of 1.5 trillion, Mr. Selestino. What was your chairperson alluding to here? Was he giving surety to the investors?
No, it's a contract with the government.
Yes.
Just like you can have your building, which you rent out. You agree, if I bring on my capital, my private money, put it into your infrastructure, should we agree to disagree, you'll give me the capital I have put in and you have not given me back, and we separate ways. So those clauses were built in as safeguards to the investor. So because remember, you're putting $739 million. As I speak, around $400 million of that has not been recovered. Recovered by the company.
Yes, from the investment.
From the investment we put in. So should there be a termination event? That's
it has to be covered.
But for us, the question is that a pressing need for the country? Replacement capital? No. We need to evacuate Karuma. We need to connect more consumers, right? Yeah? We need to be more efficient.
You need to cover the country.
We need to cover the whole country. So the urgency now we have is, how do we get in more money into the country to increase distribution infrastructure? That's why we are saying extend our concession now, because we're investing in long-term capital assets to enable us to attract long-term money to continue with the journey we have achieved so far.
Okay. The president argues the tariffs are high because your involvement as a middleman makes it hard for government to lower the tariffs. What do you make of these? Because in most responses from Umeme, you say that tariffs are set by the Electricity Regulatory Authority and not you. But don't these tariffs come from the costs you submit to ERA?
Yes. For the record, under the Electricity Act, it's a government responsibility through the Electricity Regulatory Authority to set the tariffs. We are price takers. Just like URA will get the Finance Acts as approved by government, start implementing the tax collection. So what ERA does, it looks at what are the generation costs, what are the transmission costs, what are the distribution costs to serve the customers, right? And what are the capital costs to recover that have been incurred in the sector. They come up with a tariff. They give it to us as Umeme, collect this, pay transmission this. As I indicated, we pay 110 billion to the transmission company every month. So we collect. So being at the front end, we have been seen more to be like we are the tariff setters. We are the tariff setters.
Yes.
You get
You're
it from
saboteurs
exactly.
To the good tariff.
But we are actually collectors, and more than 80% of the money collect ends with the government through transmission, taxes, NSSF, and mention it, license fees, and so on. Notwithstanding that we employ more than 2,500 staff.
Addressing the unemployment issue.
An employment issue along the lines, right? If you look at the company, out of all those staff, we are all Ugandans. Less than 5 actually are from outside Uganda.
From what I'm picking, government is playing a ping-pong game here as a regulator. It's them to give us the best tariff here.
And rules are there. Room is there.
How do we get the best tariff, Mr. Selestino?
Because you look at it, a tariff is a function of 2 things. What are your costs for the sector? What's the volume you are selling? 2. Generation, transmission, distribution over volume. So to reduce the tariff down, increase the volume. And that's why we're in sync. And you may have seen our investments in the Bali Industrial Park, Kapeka,
dams and
transformers, and Buikwe, MMP Park. Because we know when industries come in, they consume more power.
They'll just plug through.
Yeah, and the average tariff will go down. Look, for example, the large industries, the average tariff is 7 cents.
Whoa.
From midnight morning, it's 5 cents.
Wow. Those are industrial.
Those are industrial customers. And it's a journey.
Wow.
So the key thing
but the investors are saying that's too high for them. Well,
it's a journey. Because again, the challenge we see as distributors is if you make the sector financially dysfunctional, the consequences are higher. Your network will dilapidate. Along the way, the cost of restoring the network will be higher. So what we are saying is we don't set the tariff. We as Umeme are doing our best to ensure that we can influence the tariff equation by reducing wastage, as I indicated to you, the losses. Getting them from 38 to 17 is a good thing for the tariff. Collecting all the money, minimizing bad debts is a good thing for the tariff. Keeping the lights on to ensure that people can continuously use power is a good thing for the tariff. So from our dimension, we're investing a lot in technology, like Yaka, to remove some of the what I call unnecessary costs of meter reading, bill delivery, debt collection.
That's the thing.
All those costs are getting out. Applying for power, bringing paperwork and so on, all that's going on. So as Umeme, we are saying, let's be efficient. Let's keep the lights on. Let's reduce losses. We will be doing our part in reducing the tariff equation. But all of it is a government challenge.
Well, we still have Mr. Martin, rather Mr. Selestino Arunja from Umeme, the managing director. The pictures you see on the screen at Parliament, they are swearing in currently. More members of Parliament are being sworn in as they start their mandate this very week. Now, for those opposed to the renewal of your contract say that what you're doing, Mr. Selestino, is more of a last mile middleman. That can be done by people who sell electricity. So what does exactly Umeme do as part of the electricity sector?
You know,
now we are distorting the conversation.
I will not give a lot of information. I don't know where His Excellency was coming from in terms of being a middleman. But electricity distribution is a fundamental core for any electricity system in the world. Whether it's South Africa, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in America, you need an electricity distributor. You need that agency that will move power from the transmitter, for example, which we get at 220 or 132 kV, step it down to 3 kV, step it down to 11 kV, hand it over to you in your home at 240 volts, serve you as a customer, right? Right? You need that distributor.
I need the chain to
You need this chain to come through. Whether you're in Uganda, whether you're in Kenya, whether you're in South Africa, whether you're in America,
it's a global
electricity distribution is a core element of sustainability of the whole industry.
Well, I think
that's exactly what we do.
Maybe he was misinformed. Now, let me ask you about our things as Abantu Bawansi. When does Umeme plan to have Yaka connections and calculations that make sense, that are predictable? I'll give you an example. I will buy my Yaka at the end of the month, 20,000, I'll get more units. If I lose power mid-month and I buy, my units are low. So I'm wondering, is there a plan like that? Because us down here, we don't want to know the dollar is this, the dollar is that. We need to know. You need to make.
I agree with you, Kyamagero, and your frustration, again, we understand it. And it's our desire to have simplified tariff structures. We have engaged with the regulator who has the statutory legal mandate to set electricity tariffs.
Wow.
They do that by first setting the tariff structure. So the existing structure is that for the domestic customer, Mayaka, every month I must pay 3,363 shillings, what we call the fixed charge, whether you use power or not. Then the second bit is for every first 15 units, there is a subsidized rate of 250 shillings for the first 15 units. Once you finish that, then you pay 750.9 shillings per kilowatt hour. Now, depending on how much you put in and when you come to buy, whether you have already paid the service charge, whether you have utilized all your lifeline units, that's why there is those variations.
Okay.
And what we are recommending to the regulator is, let's work out a mechanism where it's predictable, like the telecos. 1 minute costs X, X times Y is equal to my 10,000.
And I'm sure with that.
So we're engaging the regulator to ensure that we can simplify this tariff structure. But the mandate still rests with the regulatory authority. Yeah.
Kabogoza Lawrence on Twitter. If you have any question for Mr. Selestino, I'm picking some of those off Twitter. And the hashtag is Morning At NTV. Someone is saying that Mr. Lawrence Kabogoza, when you say that government has enabled us to be self-sufficient when it comes to power distribution, Ugandans must more of our companies on stock exchange. Kabogoza says that's a big lie. Umeme has instead led to bigger operational costs. I think you joined before you understood the conversation better. Then Kasidie Nick says that about the tariffs, it's not reflected in the tariffs, boss. When you say that you've reduced the energy losses from 38% to 17%, it says that does not work. Then Kabogoza says the prices, stop using statistics for the failures. Mr. Selestino, break it down for us as normal Ugandans. How does this reflect if there's been a reduction in energy losses from 38% to 17%? How does it get to my units? How do I make sense of that? I think, well, others, please, if you're commenting, don't attack with any abusive words. If you don't understand the conversation, it's okay to, just move on. Mr. Selestino, you can respond to some of those bits.
Yes, I agree. There are standard measures you use to know whether a company is efficient in terms of distribution costs or not. What you do, you look at what are the operating costs for the company in distribution divided by the volume sales.
Okay.
Over the period, we have reduced that average operating cost per kilowatt hour from 3 US cents. Last year, we were at 1.4 US cents. It's a standard measure, you can compute it, and when you look at that, then you can say Umeme is becoming more and more efficient, meaning spending less and less operating costs to deliver more volume. On energy losses, in a, I don't want to use the layman's language, the best way I always explain it is like, when you are buying, say, assuming you have a crate of a product, I will not mention whether it's water or anything, if there are 100 units, and at the end of the day, at point of retail, you were selling 60 because you are losing 40. From a pricing perspective, it means that you load the 40 on the 60.
Yes.
Now, by us moving losses now from 38 to 17, it means we are freeing more units on the base of the tariff equation to reduce the cost. Yes. However, over the same period, there have been other moving parts in terms of costs going up, sales. But for the consumers, if you look at your average bills since 2019, I think, quarter four 2019, the tariff has remained flat from a regulator's perspective. Actually, it has been reducing by smaller margins, which is good for the country. However, I can say, as I say, it's not our mandate to set the tariff. We are doing our part on reducing losses, keeping the system up, operating efficiently to ensure that we can contribute to that tariff reduction. With it, notwithstanding that there are generation costs, transmission costs, which are outside our control.
Okay. Well, it's a conversation that's going on. I really want to thank you, people online, who are being a part of this conversation and what you're sending through. Someone here says, good morning, Andrew. I really want to thank our Umeme, I want to thank the Umeme MD1 for finalizing, okay. It says, I want to thank the Umeme MD for the new substation in Nakawa that is complete to serve us in Nakawa division. Previously, we had issues of power. We want to thank you. So that one is just appreciating. And on the other side, someone says that when do we have this meeting between Umeme and the regulator? Do you share this with the regulator as well, that the tariffs can go down, because we are the end users and you're our channel to get the information there?
I agree, Kyamagero, and thank you for the feedback that we are receiving. Just also to reassure you that the regulator acts in the interest of the public and government. It's like balancing the equation.
Yes.
And I believe it's in the right of consumers to advocate for a simplified tariff structure. We normally have these meetings, public hearings around November, December, when the regulator is setting the annual tariff. I would encourage consumers to put their proposals to the regulator, because consumers, the regulator is your agent.
Yes.
To advocate for simplified tariff structures like we have been advocating, such that there is, your voice can be heard and taken care of. Wow. So that way, simplified tariff structures will make this yaka vending variations issue resolved.
Okay, thank you so much, MD. It's a great conversation, and thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. See, when you get involved and you ask the questions, and where you have queries, you actually put them forward, it's easy to pick them up, and the powers that be will respond to them. This has been Mr. Selestino Babungi, the MD of Umeme electricity, distributor. You and I need to be much more careful about power. I want to tell you, don't waste power. Take off the lights if you're not using them. Use Yeka app and the technology that has been availed. You can actually tap into the benefits that come with it. But not only that, I call upon government, especially the regulator. Can we get a better simplified tariff for Ugandans? It's Morning at NTV. I'm Andrew Kyamagero. I'll be back shortly. Good morning.